It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline. Brought to you by the Golden Nugget with sports director Tony Miller.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Presented by WagerTalk.com.
Okay, here we go. It's the Friday edition of. It won't be in the other studio because I never connected it in the studio. Sorry to be. I'm jumping in. I've lost the connection to my headsets, so sorry about that, folks. We'll have to see where it is.
Live radio, nothing like it.
Yeah, it was in this bag, and now it's not. So somebody has taken it. That's always nice. Don't leave wherever you work. Don't leave anything at any time because somebody will steal it. But I mean, just unbelievable. Okay. Or not.
Yeah, or you'll find it over there.
Okay. Well, that was fun. I can't see. I can't see if it's a black cord. I realize we're on the air right now, and I'm talking like we're not on the air, but I have eye issues, and it's a black cord on a dark carpet, and I couldn't see it.
You sounded panicky there, Dave.
I was pissed.
Yeah, I mean, just
because it's the first time I carry my cans in this little Adidas bag. Adidas does not make speakers, by the way, so they're not Adidas speakers or headphones. And I actually left it in the studio across the way where we do the Wager Talk podcast yesterday, and called Mark Seidel and said, do me a favor and grab the cans for me, which he did. And then I'm trying to get him hooked up here, and I'm going, there's no connection. The cord had fallen out of the bag and onto the floor, and I couldn't see it.
That's not a tone of voice I ever hear from you, though.
No, I was not happy.
Yeah, the heart rate was up. We got Dave's blood pumping for a minute. Or you did, Mark. I didn't. I don't know if I lost the cord.
Something else that got my blood pumping was an exciting football game last night. That's a segue into the actual show.
Please.
Seahawks get a big win to get to 5-5 and keep their playoff hopes alive for what it's worth. 4-6, they're dead.
Yeah.
The Packers are now 4-5-1, and despite the fact that I think if you asked most people. Oh, by the way, that's Teddy Covers. I'm Dave Koch and Kelly Stewart later on. Tony Miller from the Golden Nugget will be with us as well for an NFL Behind the Counter report. Mark Seidel's producing a show. If you ask most people, do they rate the Packers among the better teams in the NFL? I would say yes, and I think most people would. But they're 4-5-1, so their record. I know they've been unfortunate in close games. They've gotten a couple of bad calls that went against them that really hurt them. But the fact is, 4-5-1. They're in dire straits to see the postseason.
Yeah, and I was curious to see if you were going to be one of the ones who was piling on Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy took a ton
that happens every week.
Exactly. But it felt like more than usual. They were piling on. Green Bay outgained Seattle 7.5 yards per play to 5.5 yards per play, a full 2 yards per play edge last night. They won the turnover battle, and they lost the game and failed to cover the number. It doesn't matter where. When you bet the Packers, you did not cash your ticket. Of course, game went over the total.
I think there was a very, very brief window yesterday at a couple of books.
Was there
where
a 3.5?
Momentarily,
I didn't
went
see
to
it.
3.5 and then bumped back down. I mean, it was a blink because as soon as it went 3.5, boom, somebody hit it and it went back down to 3. But 3 it's a bad result for the books.
Oh yeah, all the Seattle money won or pushed, and there was no Packer money that lost. So.
How can you tell an absolute rube when it comes to gambling?
If they lost last night.
No.
Okay.
If they commented last night, how do you guys do it? You're unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, right on the number.
It's just, it's like, how do they get these lines so close? It's exactly what they don't want to do. Okay, they don't want a game to land on the number. It's the worst possible result because nobody loses.
Well, and that's one of the issues that sportsbooks have had long term with NFL teasers.
Yeah,
because the numbers in the NFL are as tight as they are in any sport. The games tend to fall around the number, and when you're paying out every side of a teaser in game after game, when the lines are too tight, it doesn't always work out well. for sportsbook managers around town.
It cracked me up last night. I follow Chris Andrews on Twitter, of course. Most of us in the gambling biz do because Chris is a great guy, tremendous odds maker, fabulous follow. And somebody had tweeted to him, and it's somebody who lives in Las Vegas. I don't know the gentleman's name, but likes to talk gambling. And it's like, and I don't mean this to be insulting, but how can you be so dim on the subject? Because he tweeted, "You guys are unbelievable." And, fantastic job. And Chris said, not really, or words to that effect.
But, what the league, when the point spread is tight, when the game's around the number, that's good for ratings. That's good for the league.
And it was a good game. It was a fun game. By the way, speaking of Chris Andrews,
Blood Drive Monday.
Unintentional segue here. Look, he is one of the most popular guys around the state because he's been all over the state in terms of
for like 30 years.
Oh yeah, Chris he's been all over the place as far as his odds making abilities are concerned, and everybody likes Chris. And he had some real health issues going on, and literally transfusions of blood saved his life. On Monday, this coming Monday, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the South Point. It's in the Brunswick room at the South Point. It's the South Point Blood Drive. You can also visit redcross.org and click Give Blood to learn where to donate near you if you're not here in Las Vegas, if you're listening online right now, but you either have heard of Chris and respect him greatly or just happen to know Chris and have moved out of town, given the city you're in. But hopefully a lot of people are going to get involved in this, and it should be a great turnout on Monday at the. If you want to meet everybody in the gambling business, they're going to be there on Monday.
There, exactly, and it's all day Monday. You have plenty of time to come in to the South Point to donate blood. And it's whatever. It's a good thing to do, and this is the time of year that we like to do good things. Period.
Absolutely. So kudos to everybody involved at the South Point for getting that project going. That is outstanding. Okay, we've got Tony Miller coming up in a little bit, so let's get to some of tonight's games, and we will do that in the Friday MJ Christensen 4 at 4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you have one of those days. It's been one of those days where everything weird is going on. I'm not going to say everything that can go wrong goes wrong. It's not a Murphy's Law day. In fact, reverse of that in a way as far as the betting goes, because they bet Oregon State this morning, and I think the only time they covered was the final score. So, I'll take that because I've lost a few of those. So, but a lot of the other stuff, jeez, even the wait, it's like 20 minutes in Starbucks today in the drive-thru. It's just been a pain in the ass day, and then the headset incident. Okay, let's get to some games. Blues are in town to face the Golden Knights. And I have to mention this, Scott Spreitzer, our old friend.
Sure.
Scott's daughter, Sarah, her favorite player is David Perron, who was with the Golden Knights last year. She was, of course, heartbroken when Perron left and signed with the St. Louis Blues. They're in town to play tonight. And I guess T.C. Martin actually arranged this, with Perron's practicing with the Blues today, and arranged for a photo with Sarah. And David Perron agreed to it and everything like that, and it's posted on Twitter, and that's real cool. Yeah, because she's 14, she's completely into the Golden Knights, but was a huge David Perron fan and was disappointed when he left to go to bluer pastures, as it turns out.
But that's one of the ways that the Knights captured everyone's heart last year, not just because of what they did on the ice.
Oh yeah,
they were just good guys.
Yep.
And that continues, even though some of them are in St. Louis now.
And speaking of the game, the Golden Knights coming off probably their best performance of the year, I would think. They were good the other night. Fleury was terrific again. 5-0 shutout win. Granted, the Ducks are a little shorthanded right now. They without Cam Fowler, who's a tremendous player, and they're not exactly lighting up Broadway either. But that was still a really good win, and now the Golden Knights will try and follow it up by getting a little revenge for a recent loss at St. Louis. And I think they've got a pretty good shot at this one, and the odds makers agree.
Although the money has been coming on the dog when you look at the global picture. And not heavy money, but we're talking about at least a 10-cent move in favor of the St. Louis Blues. And they're not really a good team.
On paper, they should be better than they are, and I wonder how long Mike Yeo is going to remain the head coach of the Blues, there are rumblings that he might not be there much longer.
Sure, 6 wins in 16 games.
Not good.
Isn't going to get it done.
And they have a tendency not to wait to pull the trigger in the NHL.
Yeah, and which also sets up a great betting angle when you bet on that team.
Yeah.
Even I know that one.
Although it hasn't exactly paid off with the Blackhawks, who immediately continued their losing ways with the new coach. They finally won a game.
But the bottom line, these are the games Vegas is supposed to win.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going to show that we're anything like we were a year ago, and I keep saying the we, I love it. It's just organic.
I like it too. They are we.
But if we're going to show that we're anywhere near what we were like last year, you know, playing 2 good games in a row would be a nice start.
Sure would. Oakland is in town, not Oakland, California. They will be in town in a couple of years when the Raiders move to Las Vegas. This is Oakland, Michigan. Oakland University.
Yeah.
They are in town to face the Runnin' Rebels at the Thomas and Mack tonight. UNLV about an 8-point favorite in the game. Oakland off to an 0-2 start. This is a team with one of the more celebrated under-the-radar coaches in college basketball, and Greg Campy. He's a fun guy and a good basketball coach as well. And that's one of the things I kind of looked at in sizing up this game. I think on paper, this is not a real good Oakland team right now, and it's one the Rebels probably ought to handle. But I got to tell you, if it's a competitive game, sorry, Marvin, I'll give Campy the edge to find a way to pull it out. And that gets me out of the game completely because I don't really want to play Oakland, but I'm not going to be laying points with the Rebels.
So I went to school in Michigan. I lived in Michigan for the better part of 10 years. And at the time, Oakland U, I mean, I'm not going to say it was not a community college, but it was a small region for a Detroit suburb type of college. To see them do what they've done as a basketball program and, you know, now playing at a D1 level, and this isn't one of their better teams, they've been competitive. They play an entertaining style. Is certainly it's a testament to what college basketball can bring to a university that, you know, didn't have that much going for it. That being said, just like we saw in the first game, just like we saw in the second game, heavy under money on UNLV tonight. Total open 148.5 down to 144.5 and 144 even at some spots, and indications are it could continue to go lower. So the under cashed with relative ease for the Rebels last time out. Oakland, not a team that likes to slow it down necessarily.
On the gridiron, this is a big game. Memphis and SMU matching up in CUSA tonight. SMU has the tiebreaker against Houston, and if they win, they'll be tied with 1 week left. So this is a really big game for SMU, but they're the home underdog to the Memphis Tigers. Memphis is still in the midst of this thing, too, to some extent. They're going to get to a bowl game, certainly. I think the Tigers have been a bit of a disappointment this year because they can't stop anything. There is some sharp money showing on the dog in this game, but and look, I went down with this ship last night. I took Tulane. I had plus 10 or 10.5, so I had a good number. Didn't matter because they were never in the game. It was a pressure game for Tulane, and they failed miserably. And I wonder if SMU could fall into that same spell tonight. This is the biggest game they've played in a while, and I don't know if they're ready for it.
They may not be, but even if they aren't, that doesn't mean that Memphis is going to cover. SMU hasn't gained bowl eligibility yet, let alone, all right, winning the West in the conference. And that is, quite a tight little race, obviously, with SMU holding the tiebreaker against Houston. But when you look at Memphis and, this offense can move the football and Henderson can run, and it's the Tigers, to say they haven't played anybody, I mean, Mercer, Georgia State, South Alabama, UConn, East Carolina, and Tulsa. That's their wins this year.
That's not a great group.
That's not even a good group. Is anyone in that group better than 2-8?
Not many. Let's put it. I think East Carolina's got 3 wins.
Yeah, I mean that's a who's who of bad football teams that Memphis have beaten, and you look at the L's, and they're anyone that's not an atrocious football team. And SMU, they're not great, but they're certainly not miserable.
And Boise State on the road at New Mexico tonight. We got a Mountain West game that'll catch some national coverage. The Broncos off a thrilling win over Fresno State last week, and they now have a path to the Mountain West championship game. New Mexico does not. The Lobos are out of the mix as far as Bulls are concerned, they needed a win last week against Air Force to stay alive. Did not get it. There is a buzz that Bob Davie might be gone.